They say looks can be deceiving. At first glance, I thought you were not much to look at. All icing, no cake, all steam, not much brew. But the night air sings of fulfilling ancient dreams. The moon whispers of tenderness for the smallest of them, for the unheard, the unseen. And as the sun breaks through our heroes' memories, your blinding smile hits my heart, like the warrior's blade, like 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's spear. But the far seas beckon you. The memories on these walls try to soothe the pain of parting. I seek for your warmth, but only these sheets comfort me. My tears are salt water flowing to bridge the seas and islands that divide us. The stars listen to my sighs as I look for you in the skies. And now you're here. Our love blazes like the fire of our heroes' revolution. Our hearts entwined is such sweet victory, incomparable, like the journey of our people, like the richness of our culture.
Hi!
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
everybody.
Hi, welcome back. It's been like, we didn't do one in January, right? But that's because everyone was so
Aw.
busy. But we had one last December. So, yeah, this is like what? 4? This is 4th, right?
Probably. Oh, that's
Third?
an unlucky number.
No. I think it was 4th. Oh yeah, 4th isn't. No, it's okay. We're not bringing that bad energy with us today, you know?
Sorry.
Yeah, anyway.
My bad.
Hi, welcome back to 𝗛𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Friends, our like creative writing radio show.
Hell yeah.
It's
Heck yeah.
You're not supposed to say those
Sorry,
things
I'm
on
sorry,
air.
God. It's okay.
Yeah,
I
you
will
should say
duck
sorry.
quote.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, yeah. So for today, we're doing something a little different. We're having a few lectures by some chosen writers in 𝗛𝗏𝗏 to talk about their expertise, like their writing process, that kind of thing. We have 2 fictionists and 2 poets with us today. We'll be introducing. They're over.
Over here.
Yeah, they're over here. Say hi, guys.
Those are the fictionists.
Yeah, and our poet.
And one poet. The other
One-
poet is
On the way. Yeah.
Cebu City, you know.
Yeah.
So the first fictionist we have for today is the vivid writer Trixie Canama, who is the current vice president of HULMA. She does not label herself as a great writer, but rather just a yapper, gifted with the ability for her hands to catch up with her mouth. She mainly loves to write fiction, but has been into poetry these past days. Oh, and she loves angst. It's her favorite dessert. When away from writing, she can be found maladaptively daydreaming, about possible scenarios for her next piece. Whoa.
Wow.
Everyone clap.
Woo! Say hi, Trixie. Yeah, say hi to your millions of fans in the
Oh,
audience.
you're so loved. Give her flowers. Our second fictionist is Elisha Dinampo from STEM 12T2. She loves to mimic the worlds inside her head through writing. She rarely reads The Lord of the Rings, and angst is the only love she could ever have, which is part of her two truths and single lie, which you'll find out which one is the lie.
Where's Charlie? Oh, okay. Say hi, Elisha. Woo! Say hi to the millions of people watching you all over the world. So those are our fictionists. And for our poets, our first poet is Charlize Margaret P. Gallos, is a dreamer and journals her mind's landscapes in poetry and song. She is the associate editor for short-form releases of HULMA, Cebu's loudest creative writing club. Additionally, she was awarded Best Fellow in Poetry in HULMA's second creative writing workshop. She captures the quiet beauty of ordinary things, vivid for the blind to see. A private soul, she leaves only traces. If you wish to find her, write a letter and trust the breeze to whisper it to her.
Zam!
Wow. Say hi!
Whoa, she's nonchalant. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And our last speaker, who is still on the way, so he's more like I guess he could be like a surprise guest, you know?
You have never met him before. Ever.
So you're gonna see him once he gets here. Last I heard, he's like somewhere. Anyway. Yeah, he's somewhere. City Hall.
No, just City Hall.
Anyway, our last speaker is Renzo Flordelis, who is the editor-in-chief of HULMA from STEM 12E1, who writes poetry sometimes. Warm sunlight filtering through the leaves of local flowering plants keeps him going. You can find him on Instagram at Flords21. So yeah, there's a plug. If you want to follow his socials,
follow him.
That's
now.
Flords21.
Ever.
Yeah. So those are our speakers. We have two fictionists and two poets who are gonna give little talks as said today. So we'd like to give the microphone to our first speaker, Trixie. Woo! Say hi.
Hi guys. My slides. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Trixie Canama from USC HULMA. I was awarded as the Best Fellow Writer for Prose during our workshop, and today I will be giving a short lecture on how to write prose. Prose by me. So before I begin, I would like to share my favorite quotes when I'm writing. First is, it is no wonder that truth is stranger than fiction because fiction has to make sense. Because life doesn't make sense, but fiction really has to make sense so in order for your readers to grasp what you are saying. Second is, fiction is the lie through which we tell the truth, which is, I think you guys can all agree, right? And for the next slide, it tackles about the contents of this presentation, which is the types of plot, the theme, setting, characters, structures of plot, and how to use imagery. Right, next slide. So there's 5 types of plot I would like to discuss with you guys. When writing a story, you can write linear plot, which starts from the beginning until the end. So it's just a straight plot. For the second, it's episodic plot, which has chapters with its own mini arc. So it's cut out. It's a cut out events of a flow of events. For the third is the flashback, which is interrupted by recalling a flash event or maybe a future event. It depends on your story. The fourth is parallel. So there are 2 or more storylines being narrated, which is like a POV of different characters. And last is media res, which the story starts in the middle of an action or a scene. For the next, on how to decide on your theme, I recommend that you settle and decide the final theme of your story, such as if it's good versus evil, if it's about redemption, it's about revenge, is it about love, friendship. And for settings, I would recommend that you first describe the location of your story, then introduce the title or name of that place. And you have to be sure if it's real or made up. Describe the landscape, the atmosphere, the smell, the time, the day, the weather, so the readers will actually be able to grasp what you are really trying to describe or what you're visioning right now. And you may refer to Elisha Dinampo's slides for this. For the next one is characters. You have to first decide who is the main character fighting. Is it himself? Is it the supernatural? Is it an animal? Is it a god? Is it society, nature, or anymore else? And you have to decide who are the allies and enemies. If an ally turns into an enemy, you have to foreshadow it. Subtle, but it's still there. Then there's two types of character. A flat character does not change throughout the story. It has the same personality from the beginning until the end. And a round character is very complex, dynamic, well-developed, and changes throughout the story. You have to establish the character's personalities, beliefs, and morals. And you have to treat each character as their own. So you have to treat that they are not plot devices, because your readers will be able to feel that, and it's gonna hinder the story. You have to make sure that they are actually a person, or maybe you can take someone you know and then turn it into that character's personality. Then for the next slide, you have to decide the conflict so that the readers will be able to know who is the character fighting or having trying to resolve with. Could be man versus man, man versus society, man versus nature, man versus technology, supernatural, fate, and himself. And the conflict is like the highest point of the story, so it has to be thrilling, it has to make the readers intrigued on what's gonna happen next. And the next slide. So before you actually start writing the story, you have to decide what type of writer are you. You can be a pantser, which is someone who outlines story events, so you have a guide, or you can you can be a plotter for that. For a pantser, you can write by your heart, so you just write with the flow, whatever comes into your mind, which gives you more creative freedom. But you can also be both, which can be a mix of a pantser and a plotter. You can plot the ending, but in the beginning, you can just write what you want to write. Then for the next slide, but how do we actually write a story? First, you have to show and do not tell. Don't make your readers feel that they are stupid when they are reading your text. If you're describing how this character is having a panic attack, you don't need to tell the readers that they are having a panic attack. Your readers are able to have context clues and be able to piece together the evidence and be able to understand the text. Next, use imagery. Provide readers with information to visualize that scene, such as the way their hair moves, the way the shake of their hands, the way their breathing is stopping or it's not stopping. Then conversations should be normal. When you write a dialogue, you have to review it and ask yourself, would a real person say this? Like, would a person actually say this word? And you have to read it. And if you stumble when you read it, then it's kind of wordy, and it means that it's not really realistic enough. And for the next slide, so stop overusing like words that are so common in fiction, like some like his eyes darkened, he growled. Like how can you describe that? Like, why don't you do it in real life and tell me, don't you look ridiculous? And for the foreshadowing, if your story is mystery, you have to have foreshadowing maybe in the middle or in the beginning. It could be in the dialogue as well, which makes the reveal feel natural, more surprising. And read what you've written and maintain its tone. You have to read what you're writing. Even though if you don't like it, you have to read it. You really have to read it. And you have to see if your inner voice stops or stumbles upon words, then you have to change it because your readers will also feel the same. And lastly, you have to read more books. You have to read maybe 100, 1,000 books before you can actually write a good story. Then for the next slide, it's an example of the first line that I've written last year. Ghost of a Lover is about a man who can see the ghost of his wife, but he cannot actually communicate because his wife is just replaying the last days of what she was doing. So this is an example of the first text. Dexton stands still, his charcoal eyes tracing each letter of her engraved name. Now it makes you wonder, what engraved name? So it pulls the readers in. You have to have a really intriguing first line. Then for the next slide, this one is the folio for HULMA this year, which is getting published in a few weeks into a physical copy. This is my story. It's a detective story. So I'll just read the first line. The man's dark strands reach his temples, and his sharp gray eyes remain focused as he strode towards the manor's entrance. And it really pulls you in, but you can already imagine it, even if the description is brief. So you can also make the first line brief and not really descriptive, since it also pulls the readers in. Then for the book recommendations. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I have like 6 books here I can recommend. Yeah. The first book is Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet. It has really good characters. It has complex beliefs and dialogues that feel really natural. It makes you say that, oh, this character would really say that. Then for anxious people, it has a touching story that really can touch your heart. So I recommend this. If you want to write a touching story, then you should read this. And May Day Eve by the legendary 𝗙𝗏𝗂𝗏. It's a very good story. It has a very vivid use of imagery, and it really makes you feel the characters. Even though I read it kind of short, it was really good. Then for the next slide, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, it has a really good, unique plot. It's about you can travel back in time, but the coffee has to remain hot. If the coffee gets cold, then you're gonna return back to the cafe. Then our folio for HULMA this year, I recommend that. It's if you guys can buy or support this in a few weeks, it's all of a compilation of all the HULMA members, chosen members. Then The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, it's mystery, it pulls you in, which is good if you want to write mystery books. Next slide. So that is all for my lecture. If you have any questions, you can contact me in my email. So thank you guys for listening.
So good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to Today I'm going to show you the basics of world building as the second part for our prose lecture. So for today, we're going to talk about what is world building and how it is important. Then we'll tackle the core elements of world building, and will differentiate hard world building to soft world building. And I'm going to give you the basics of how characterization can connect to your own world. Next slide, please. So what is world building and why does it matter? World building is the act of imagining and designing a world of a story. It is an integral piece of storytelling, of course, and you as a writer use your imagination in order to bring a world to life. Examples would be the Middle Earth in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, Hogwarts in Harry Potter, Westeros in The Song of Ice and Fire. So, next slide, please. So, when I world build, these are the key elements that I use in order to properly distinguish and properly organize my world into something coherent that reflects our world itself. We have the setting. This is where you put the geography, your climate, your landscapes. How many mountains are there? How many continents are there? Then, next we have the legends and the myths. This is where you place the history and how your story basically comes to be told. It's basically the history of your story itself. Then you have the religions. What do the people believe in your stories? Okay. And then we have magic, if applicable for your worlds. Then we have the people. What are their cultures? What are the languages that they speak? Do they have any traditions that hold up to their beliefs as they go forward throughout the story? Next, we have the economy. This is where we talk about money, trade, and technology. And lastly, we have the laws and power, the governments, the rulers, and the leaders that basically strives in the stories as you tell them. Kingdoms, the rulers, the emperors, the princesses, the dukes, the marquises. Next slide. So, what is hard world building and how does it differentiate from soft world building? It is a meticulously planned world where every detail is defined. So let's say The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings where he had his own languages, his own cultures, his own races, and basically from start to finish, the entire world has been explained in actual detail. It basically relates to the reader in the real world perspective where you can find actual parallels from real world situations to the world building writing. And here are examples: The Lord of the Rings, of course, The Song of Ice and Fire, or otherwise known as Game of Thrones. We have Dune and Blade Runner. Next, we have soft world building. What differentiates soft world building from hard world building is that it focuses more on the writer's imagery. It gives the author basically gives the reader more freedom to interpret what their story is being told. It's more of show than you're rather telling. It focuses more on the vibes of the world rather than you're actually giving it more depth to it. Examples would be Studio Ghibli films like House Moving Castle or more of that. Next would be the character creations and its key aspects. One of the most important things when you're creating a world is that you have your own anchor to basically place on hold in your story so that as you tell your story, your reader is able to relate to a character that can fully live out in the story, in your world. They are the anchors or the lenses. You need to consider their origin story, their culture, and beliefs, and how they are shaped by the world around them. You inform the characters' backgrounds through personal or external conflicts. Then you design the character traits and that are directly involved by the world's unique features and laws. Lastly, we have the basics when you are creating a character. You start with a concept, as I said before, and you create that concept and turn it into an origin story that helps motivate the characters' goals and dreams that will further develop into the story as you write your world and your character. You need to have your unique physical attributes and abilities. And of course, the character's cultural background, language, and traditional beliefs. And next slide. That is all. Very short. Thank you.
Hi, maing buntag. Maing hapon. Hi, so we're done with fiction, and so I will be here starting for poetry. First, I would like to thank Miss Cadet and Sir Flordelis for additional insights for my talk about central metaphor. So first, first is let's talk about prose and poetry. What are their differences? So prose is basically a type of creative writing wherein you don't follow a metrical structure. So these are your novels, short stories, epics. Then poetry on the other hand often uses structures such as rhyme, rhythm, and intentional line breaks. It follows a metrical structure. So central metaphor is basically the main metaphor you use in writing your poem. Basically, the central metaphor is your poem. That's why this is very important para dili chaotic ang imuhang poem. You won't get lost, and this is very important as your message, para imong message kay mag-clearly siya og present. So, how will we effectively write our central metaphor in our poem? So first step is relate. So poetry is an experience and an expression. So write what you know. Do not write about watermelon if you don't know what a watermelon looks like. Don't write about love if you haven't experienced love. Don't write about anything basically if you don't know about it, because how will you write about it if dili ka swito ana, diba? So don't be pretentious, especially when it comes to vocabulary, and think about what you have experienced, what you've personally observed every day and see, what you're interested about, then liken it to something related to a message. Just like this example, next slide please. This is a poem from Emily Dickinson, Hope is the Thing with Feathers. So she likened hope with birds. So as you can see, she write what she knows, as I think she saw a bird, and then she talked about hope, likened it with how a bird acts. So muna siya. Next please. So second tip is vocabulary should match the topic. So let's say you talk about planting in your poem. So use terminologies that are typically used when planting. Additionally, it's not always necessary to rhyme in every line in your poem. So when writing a poem, try to speak it out loud. Kaya dili necessary na rhyme every poem. Kaya sometimes the rhyming can be overused, and then dili na kay siya mo bagay sa imuhang poem. So next slide. So for example, this is a poem I wrote. It's about yuta. So try to guess what terminologies I use that actually match the topic of my poem. So as you can see, givisbisan, giabonuhan, muguna. So that's basically common words that you use when you're planting. So when you talk about a topic, then use operational terminologies. Next. Third tip is be consistent. So you cannot talk about love in one stanza and then in the second stanza you suddenly talk about world peace. So you cannot write about flowers in one stanza, then suddenly the other stanza talks about the human liver. It is also ineffective if you constantly talk about nature throughout your poem, but in one stanza it shows heartbreak and the other stanza suddenly talks on, another thing. So how to be consistent? Well, a wonderful, very inspiring person once told me ask yourself if you're an architect or a gardener. An architect is someone who outlines, like, for example, what I usually do is I plan, like, in this stanza, this is what I'll show, in this stanza, this is what I'll show, but all of this, it connects to the main central metaphor. It's basically like writing an essay where you have a main idea and then you have supporting details. So yeah, make sure that all of it connects to your main idea so that dili ka mawala, because that's usually the tendency when you write a poem. You have many things in your mind, you have many ideas, and you don't know how to control them. So that's all. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'll pass the mic to our wonderful editor-in-chief.
Hey guys. Oh wow. Uy, kami naman list. Sorry guys. So okay ba ako naman sa pagsuwat, no? Tuluan naman ni Charlize sa to pinaka-basic part sa poetry katong central metaphor. Yes. Sunod na, how do you write? So it's time to create the structure of the poem. So I have to choose between either. So next slide, please. You have to choose between either conventional structured poem or the free verse poem. By choosing, of course, the conventional option, which is on the left, you are forced to conform to the aspects of a poem which a lot of you are already familiar with in your high school English classes. Please, next slide. So kanisha is a poem from 𝗛𝗡𝗎𝗓 from Katitikan Issue 3 Reimaginations. So first part pa lang ni siya, pero ako nagipili as an example. So ang pinaka-first na division sa poem jud is, pinakadako is ang stanza. Please. Yes, kani siya. Free verse ni siya, pero it's still structured. That's why I chose it. Pero ang stanza, next. Ang sa stanza, this is the biggest division sa usa ka poem. This contains groups of lines, and lines, next na pod. Oh yeah, oops. Yeah, lines are, naglibog na ko da. Ay, sige, click me. Ibak, blip. Oh my. Si iba-ibak pa dyan. Layo ra kay ka. So ang line kay ang pinaka-most basic unit of poetry, kay poetry is lines man jud down. Sa next, ang words. Words, I don't know unsa nang mga words. Pero pwede pa na nato ma-subdivide into poetic feet. Kani siya, ang poetic feet is divided into syllables. 2 syllables ni siya for this example. Ang stressed o ang unstressed. Unstressed na stressed. So layer of loam, cache of glass. So kana siya, each 2 syllables, kay group na siya into 1 poetic foot. Kung duha sila kabuok syllables, that's called an iamb. So since naay 4 ka book iambs in this line, matawag nato ni siya as mo niyang meter, ang tetrameter, kay 4 ka book iyaha. So for this poem, like the entire poem, tetrameter ra jud siya ang gigamit. So next, please. Yeah, mo ni siya. Dapat yun parts day sa usa ka poetic foot. Kung stressed na unstressed, layer. Ang tawag kanina is usa ka crochet. Kung unstressed na stress kani siya sa kaayam. Importante ni siya because I'll explain it later. Pero next time, please. Kani siya, sunod ang pod niya. If you go even further, ang next part pa dyan is ang sound. So here we have a cache of glass. So makikita ta sa vowels. Ang vowel sounds, makaparehas ganing, tawag ganina kay assonance. Sunod, bones before banyaga, alliteration because consonants. Nasa ni siya laing koan po nga consonants for repeating consonants. Pero two parts, pinaka most important parts of form that is a meter or sound devices which form prosody. So, the feet and the sound are very important. Ay, balik sa. The metric feet, ay, back sabi. The metric feet are part of an aspect of poetic form called poetic meter. Ang kani siya ang na-contain sa rhythm sa usa ka poem. So, ang rhythmic structure of every line is meter. Sunod kay ang sound devices. Ang example ani, katong gibakita nako ganiha kay alliteration ug assonance. Pero there's still more like repetition, consonants, and rhyme most importantly. Pero kato siya, wala to siya rhyme kay free verse man to siya. Pero yeah. Back sa ta sa kuan sa katong poem. Take back pa jud sa katong kuan. Kani. Makabantay ka nga. What about when you stop reading sa kuan niya? What about the lack of sound? Ay, wait, balik ulit. Kani. Lack of sound. What do you do when you stop reading? Or like when you pause, kung na comma or na period? Sa may absence, ani niya? Nga comma sa usa ka line. Ang tawag ani niya is enjambment. Enjambment is important because binabali siya sa usa ka pause. Mag-add siya og rhythm, pero it forces you to continue and continue reading. Or bones before the banyaga rattles the ground. The myth describes the gentry of Anitos walk this very earth, sated with salamang. Di ba, makakontinue ka, mapugos ka, o padayon, o basa. Yung next na. Sa katungkuan, prosody. Yan, sunod na pod. So, prosody or rhythm and sound of poetry is important, and most importantly, kung magsuwat ka, it feels good to write it. Ano man, kung basahon ni mo, into to siya, no? Pero it's because poetry used to be an oral tradition. Mga stories like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Beowulf, Biag ni Lamang, Darangen, ug Bantugan, they were all originally oral traditions passed through generations before they were started to be written down. So when they started to get written down was when they started getting formalized. Let's take a look at one of the most formal traditional poetic forms, the Shakespearean sonnet. So yung pinaka-obvious feature is ang iyahang mga stanzas. Kato ganiha, ang stanzas ato niya is divided into 3 lines, tawagan nila tercet, kani, divided into 3 kabuok stanzas nga na ay 4 lines each. Tawagan na tulo ka quatrain. Quatrain kay 4 kabuok. Ang pinaka-last is usa ka couplet, which is a pair of 2 lines. So, what sets it apart man, ang Shakespearean poem is ang iyahang meter. This is called an iambic pentameter. Next, please. Ngayon siya. So, since iambic, meaning siya katong iamb, usa ka unstressed, usa ka stressed. My mistress eyes are nothing like the sun. So, 5 kabuk iambs. Wala siya. Iambic pentameter, 5 ka. Yung meter kay 5. So, that makes 10 syllables each. So, wala siya. Ang kaning kuan pa jud niya is napadud ni siya rhyme scheme nga A B ana anton ang couplet kay the same sun red dun head white cheeks delight tricks and ana until rare and compare para sa rhyme sa couplet. So yeah, it's very strict, na siya strict formula to follow. So tanaw na po nato ang sunod nga form of poetry. Kani siya is very traditional, dili pa jud gikan nato ang limerick. So kani siya ang gisunod na niya is tetrameter. This one is from Adam David, akong idol. So tetrameter, dahil na niya sa iamb. Ang iamb is divided into 2 syllables. Ang tetrameter, di mo siguro yung tetrameter, no? Basta tetrameter is divided into 3 syllables. Ay, balik. There once was a girl from Bulacan, shook her hips like no other girl can, to cha-cha and boogie. Tulo-tulo siya. Yung rhyme scheme is AABBA. Ang kaning limerick is usually meant to be amusing. Kani siya is amusing because this is from El Bimbo Variations, katong mga hulma kibaw na ani. So, see, next. This one is a haiku. Next slide. Ang katungkuan. This is a traditional form from Japan. So of course, this would be better if Japanese ni. Pero since na-import naman siya, na-export na siya to the world, na natingin aning haiku in English. So ang rhyme scheme, ang iyahang gisunod niya is ang syllables for the meter. So the first line is 5 syllables, second is 7, the next is 5. This is a very nice haiku actually. The next slide please. Ayan siya, 575. Sunod, ato taog traditional Filipino forms of poetry. Kani siya usa ka tanaga. Ang tanaga has ang sigway lilipas din. 7 syllables with 4 lines each. It has an AAA or AABB or ABAB rhyme scheme. Kani, nindot na siya. Ang sigway lilipas din kaya huwag indahin. Paubaya sa hangin, ito'y maglalaho din. Diba? Wow. Sunod. Next please. This one is dalit. This is also another traditional Filipino form. Kani siya, nag-una ni sila sa mga Tagalog. Kita diri taon, ang tuwa diri kay balakra. This one has, gusto ko nang kalimutan, 8 syllables, 4 lines. And muna yung rhyme scheme. Gusto ko nang kalimutan lahat kong pinagdarating. Nais talagang pilingin, napakaganda mong tingin. Wow! So pretty. Okay, next. Gikan isa sa HULMA, by the way. So proud of these guys. Next, please. So what about another form of poetry? This is an elegy. An elegy, according to Google, is a serious reflection or a lamentation to the dead. Kani siya is from Virgilio Almario, written during the martial law era, called Eliha ng isang rebelde. Sapagkat nang ikaw bistayin ng punglo habang nagpupunla sa bagong pag-asa, sanayod bukirin ang tumapong idugo may katas sa samyong lupa pamana. So sad. Yung pinaka-last pa dyan yung line, isang awit na dadalhin ng atserot magsasaka, manggagawat anak pawis, tutumana at kaingin, maliwalo at kandaba, mula duyan hanggang hukay. So deep. Pero ang opposite anina is usa ka ode, which I don't have an example of, but it's supposed to be lyrical, happy, and meant to be sung out to glorify something. Example ani is Ode to Joy by Friedrich Schiller, and most widely known by its musical rendition ni Beethoven, itong Nimo siya anthem sa European Union because lagi cute kay siya. Oh, next. Kani siya. Let's take a look at this poem. Naiko andere. There's a quote at the top. Ang tawag ani niya kay usa ka epigraph. This one is from Aeschylus, iyang story, iyang tragedy nga Prometheus bound. I shall never exchange my fetters for slavish servility. It is better to be chained to the rock than bound to the service of Zeus. See, Prometheus was the guy who gave fire to humanity and was promptly punished eternally. So Moni, this talks about freedom. So peculiar yung form, no? Like original siya. Next slide. Like 6 lines per koan. 6 lines per stanza. There's 4 of them. So that's 24. Di pa din. Epigraph. Yeah. Next slide. Sige ba? Pero do you notice anything more to it? Kani siya actually, usa ni siya ka-acrostic poem from 1972. Ang acrostic poem is a poem nga ang first letters of each line spell out something. Ang kani iyang something nga gi-spell out diri. Amo lang pwede ba ni nako basahon, pero usa ni siya ka slogan sa martial law. Yeah. Sige, next. This next poem is by Bisaya poet Adonis Dorado. Sound device, ani niya. Ang kanidyon ko ani niya is ang sound device nga gigamit niya is repetition. So, bahalag, adjective, basta lang, adjective. So, mo na iyahang gibalik-balik sa the whole poem. Bahalag hilaw, basta lang ikaw. Sweet. Bahalag huot, basta lang hugot. Okay. So cute. Pero, ano siya, makita ni mo diri, B, bahalag, basta, bukog, bah. Kung kita dyan mo, ma-feel ni mo yung pattern. Yung repetition sa consonants. So, okay, next. Next slide. Nasa siya rhyme. This one is a poem by Alejandro Abadilla from the 1950s. Kani siya, yung gibuhat diri is, yung gikatawuan ang form, basically. Kaya usa ni siya ka modernist poet. 5 5, 15, tulang tula. Isa't isa ay dalawa, tugmang tugma. Palarila, tamang tama, walang hiya. Taling hagang, tali papa. Yan gibinuangan ang form ani basically because usa ni siya ka modernist poem. So, usab nila na to mabuhat kung pwede maging ani nga murag binuang lang ba? Yung next slide daw. Yeah, 3/3 in a couplet. Wow. Yung next. So, poetry with conventional form may be difficult to follow, pero sayon siya sugdan. Yeah, na kay formula. All you have to do is fill in the blanks na lang with words and you make sure nga muigo siya. So that's why, things like meters and rhyme, balik sa meter and rhyme, mapugos ka, malimited. Unlike in free verse. This is a good thing, kay limitation makes you more creative. The more rules you set for yourself, the more ka mapugos to think outside the box. So next, ang structured form is hard to do, pero easy to get right. However, ang free verse, sayon siya i-write, but hard to get right. Kaya in free verse, you have to create your own rules, but you have the hard job of following them by yourself. Ang sunod ani niya, next slide. Example aning free verse is one, oh my gosh, one from HULMA, actually one of our hosts, si Aryan Jun Lazaga. So siya, this is, does not have any specific forms to follow since in the name naman, no, free verse, wala siya specific form, pero kani siya is a mixture of prose poetry and a structured form. Ano yung pinaka-last haiku, prose poetry. It's so nice, I swear. Pero, ano siya? Ang gitawag ani niya is, sa back, haibun or haiku and bun for story. So, ano siya is a prose poem followed by a haiku and you can see here na pagyapoy, epigraph. Sunod palihog. Next slide. Another poem. Free verse upon ni siya from our host gihapon. Ako dyan yung gipili, ganasla diri. This one is called Rebirth. Nagyapoy epigraph from the Bible. Wow. Pero iyahang ko ano niya, yung form is really kanang, siya siya gabuot gani. Tapos, ganahan kayo ginana. Because, murag i-follow niya ang murag chapter sa Bible na each slash, kay bali usa ka line break, mura siya usa ka verse. Gani. It's very kanang biblical. Charot. Sunod na balik. Maupod. Kani is from one of ours in HULMA. This is called a concrete poem, in which a poem's shape is an image of something. Kani ang pangalan ni my mother's daughter. Iyahasang shape, usa ka mother o iyahang daughter. Wow. So deep. Pero mo ni siya, free verse po ni siya. Next, please. Kani, karanit, full prose poem na dyan ni siya. This is from Adonis Dorado. One of my favorite poems from him is Balita. Taas kayo ni. Kailangan tan ako basahon pero marag na time. So, contradictory prose poem, not a prose. So, poem? Huh? Pero mo ni siya, lahi man ni siya. Kay, ang prose is, mo ni siya no? Ang rule dyan aning prose poem is paragraphical siya. Mura siya og prose, mura ka gabasa kag story. Pero maingon ka, na poem dyan ni siya. Kay kung sa prose, yes, na siya different siya. Wala siya limitations. Dili ka magkunahuna about the lines. Dili ka magkunahuna si mong intention. Pwede ka magnaas as much as you want. Pero in prose poem, kailangan dyan ka ma-limited gihapon. Kay magkunahuna gihapon ka nga, usa gihapon ni siya ka poem. Kailangan basahon. Dapat mubo siya. Dapat igo siya. Dapat ma-feel ni mo unsay ang kuan. Tulo ni siya ka book slides. Kay taas juga ni siya, pero nindot juga yun. Sa ninyo. Karong adlaw sigon pasamantalaan libuan ka mga pamilya ang nangalumos sa usa ka trahedya sa Papua New Guinea. Dihang kalit gisagpa sa higanting mga pahod ang mga kabaybayunan niini. Samtang dito sa nasod sa Sudan, nagihulagway sa usa ka litrato hinay-hinay gilumsan sa kagutom ang usa ka bukugon nga inahan nagapatutoy sa bukugon niyang anak nga hinabang nga nagpakaon para sa bukugon nga komunidad kay gitulis sa bukugon nga mga rebelde. Next slide. Dinhi sa dakbayan, matod pa sa lokal nga estasyon sa radyo, ilumsan sa kawalingon niyang dugo ang babaeng gahikog sa Grenada. Dihang nasakpan niyang may laing gikapuyo-puyo ang bana niyang pulis. Ug sa gitumod pa sa chismis sa among silingan, ang hinungdan kuno sa kamatayon sa balakerong si Titing Tambok. Kay nalumos kini sa iyang kagul-anan. Gumikan 40 anyos na lang wa gyapon kuno katilaw ug uyab. Next slide. Maong sa miaging adlaw, atol sa kasal sa iyang manghod, kalit kining giatake sa kasing-kasing. Ug sigon pa sa wa matiwas nga balak nga nakuot sa labandera sa bulsa sa ligilabahan niyang karsones, ang kinabuhi o sa kabangkang way katig. Wow, so deep. This one is another one. Prose poem gapon ni from Cabin de la Cruz. Kaila siguro mo siyang salida nga sa to eh. Balanggiga, howling wilderness. Experimental kani siya sa tanan niya so what pud pretentious sa kayo. Usa niya is iyang postmodern. Kani siya mas more unconventional na ni siya kay the more na siya di mo make sense. Usaan niya iyang prose poem nga postmodern tawag niya Amerika. Amerika ang sagot sa lahat ng problema natin. Ipabadala mo lang sa paborito mong kartero. Maghintay ka mo lang 3 minuto hanggang 3 linggo depende sa kalyo ng kapalaran mo. Taas pa jud kay ni siya actually. Ako na nagipang skip. So basically muna siya usa ka prose poem. Next please. Another example pud ani is dili ka mapalimit sa imong kaugalingon nga pirmi lang align left. Pwede masadyo ka mag-ani. Ay ang gisunod ani is usa ka wave. Isuwat ni Charlize 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗜𝗓𝗏. Usa ni siya ka poet nga Pinoy. Actually tanan akong gipakita diri Pinoy. Pinoy jud sila except ni William Shakespeare. Pero takibaw basta hindi Pinoy sad siya. Kani siya, freezing rain falls on the city as bodies gets exhumed from rubbles in a prison country by the sea. Pero makita jud nimo diri nga kasunod siya sa enchantment. Pero iya sang giduaan ang iyahang shape para sa atong concrete poem. Kanilang jud ang gisunod ani is ganahan siya nga murag wave. Na siya nga murag bowed. Kay I think a message ani nga poem kay nothing is permanent or something. I don't know. Pero sige next. Ako na yung tip ninyo is katong giingon ni Charlize nga keep it consistent. Kung naa kay dot ani nga line dapat sundan sa nimo nga consistent ka ba. Pero ako ang koan is keep it short. Kaya akong gisuwat sa una, di lang ako ipakita diri kay mauwa ako sa akong galingon. Pero sige kog suwat adto. I realize mo ganahan pa mo ko padayon. So sige kog write na put another stanza. And ka-realize kong lisod na magani basahon eh. So katong nga workshopan ko adto. I think si Miss Adi ito. Anak to siya nga kung sige kag suwat. Paghimo na laglag poem. Kay kung imo siyang idugang-dugang sa imong one single poem, mubati na siya murag. The bigger it is, the more siya nga mas maraten, ambot lang. Something like that. Pero wala siya akong top tip lang. Salamat kayo sa pagpaminaw. That's all.
Wow. Ay, oh, wow. Daghan kay kong nakatanan ko ayan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you again to our speakers for sharing their insights on writing.
Hulmers. Hulmaists.
Yeah, our Hulma people.
And thank you for the people who came, for coming. Wow.
Great wording there.
Salamat kayo.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's listening.
Right here, in person or online.
Yeah.
Mag-roll call sa tabi. Okay, guys, scream if you are from Talisay City. Okay, guys, scream if you are from Consolacion. Scream if you are from Mandaue. Scream if you are from Cebu City. Oh. Yung mga taga Cebu City, no? Right, Arian?
Right. Oh, right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for everyone who's attending. So now we're gonna open open forum. Yeah. So yeah, open forum. So a forum. Oh wait, yeah, a forum like questions. If you have questions for our speakers,
Who will come up here shortly, like in a line.
yeah, you can ask them questions. Okay. So if anyone has like questions, inquiries.
Second big word of the day.
Oh, okay.
Inquiry.
Yeah, come here.
Plot holes in stories are inevitable good. It's up to you as a writer to continuously change and review what you have written. Kay, when you write a story, you don't expect it to be perfect at the start good. So you don't have to leave a story behind the moment you finish it. You have to constantly revise it. Someone once said that you have no final piece. Each one is better than the last. So I guess to avoid plot holes, you basically just revise and continuously revise until you fix the plot hole. So yeah.
Thank you, Elisha.
Yay.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, here.
Hi. What is your advice if matapulan ang writer mo right sa middle? Like example, start nindot kayo niya, igabot sa middle kay tapulan na siya.
Well, my advice for that is you stop writing, because if you continue writing, that's gonna be low effort and it's not gonna be good at all. So I would advise you take a break. It could be like days, even weeks or months. No one's forcing you to write. Oh, it can be years, like all the abandoned fics in the internet. But you can take breaks, you can listen to music, you can even read books so you get inspiration to pick up and writing again. You don't have to force yourself to write because you're writing for yourself. You shouldn't be writing to impress the standards of other people. So that's my advice for you.
Thank you, Trixie Canama. Does anybody else have questions?
So regarding the free verse, okay, I am Bruno Chris A. Salvador from Mandaue City Science High School. So regarding the free verse, as you have said, it's easy to write but hard to get it right. So my question is, how do you get it right? Because whenever I try writing a free verse, it just feels like an essay of some sorts.
Ako ang ganan buhaton is musunod ko og wala gyapon magbutang gyapon og structure bisag wala siya rhyme or din ako sundod ang meter basta lang naa siya structure kay murag ambot lang basta hindi lang jud ko maayo masuwat pero kung masuwat sa ko pre-verse ng inana sa gyapon ang kagawasan pati gyapon unless adan ako og line breaks saktohon ako ay ang enjambment ang kana lagi jud ang ako ang jud sundon is ay ang rhythm kung magbasa ka og usa ka free verse poem diba murag dili ka siya natural pero kung nindot gani siya makaingon kag to no ano yung bitaw dyan siya nindot siya pagkasuwat moro dyan na simo na niya siya basahon out loud kay wala gigapon ang poetry wa siya naka-disconnect sa iyang oral tradition hantod karon kung imong basahon na nindot siya paminahon meaning nindot siya kung di gani well basin pwede nimo kailangan nimo siya i-revise mo na siya structure katong the things gihapon nga naa sa structured poems pwede gapon nimo magamit to make it good. Mo na siya.
We have an online question. Thank you. And I think this one is also answerable by Renzo. So just hold on to the microphone. Thank you, Renzo. What is the impact/significance/success of activities such as this HULMA involving engaging youth into local poetry/literature? Go, Renzo.
Taas ato eh. Basta ako ba? Can I read? Ako data.
What?
Can I read the question?
Oh, I'll read it again. Oh, you can just read it. He's reading it now.
In the comments. What is the impact, the significance, the success of activities such as this HULMA involving engaging youth into local poetry? Mo sad ni ang atong mga creative writing spheres diri sa especially diri sa Philippines. Na kay mabantayan, especially kung kana mo search kanila sa Facebook. Mga tiguang naman sila. No offense, of course, pero ang kuan ba kanang nadyo kakulangan sa mga, especially itong youth of today. Shout out youth of today. Pero mo bitaw nakita bitaw na youth of today nga mo join mo na mga lugar kasi importante ba na literature, guys. Pero
why?
Especially
Why
now
is it
karon nga
important?
online na ta, mas better naman magduwa kaysa magbasa, mas better magbasa kaysa magsuwat, kay suwat mong hadlok mo jud nang magsuwat kay ingnam tagbati. Pero kanang mga creative writing spaces, mo join ka ana para tudluan ka sa pagsuwat nga nindot. And sa mga sa tong question, wait. Hala na wag tang. I can't see the question now. Asa naman to? Hindi ko kita sa question. What is the importance? No? Stuff like that. Pero kon, impact, significant success. Mo ni siya, ang impact ano niya is kung sige maging ani, daghang mong tanaw, daghang ma-inspire na puhon, hopefully, mo-join sa mga magsuwat, sugod sa suwat. Kasi mom dyan yung pinakahadlok nga activity. Magsugod ka og suwat. Ako ganyan, di magay kumunginan na. Pero diha ka magsugod sa pagsuwat, sa pagpalatag sa imong pagsuwat, para hopefully pod, sunod na pod, mag-continue na siya nga ginana. And it helps you to think more critically sa mga butang since involved na maka sa creation process ana. Ibaw na kaon sa ikuan, biases and whatever. Basta. Ana. Hopefully ma-answer. Taka-taka ra to. Napay addition si Charlize Gallos.
Hello? Okay, additionally said, activities like this brings out writers hiding in their shell. Because personally, I've experienced that na kanang abin ako na like ako ra may hilig mo right kay people around me they'll be like they're not really into poetry and fiction and then you don't know that there's actually a community out there that does kanang ga-write sad ba and you need and of course by putting ourselves in the public we can reach out to those writers and tell them that, hey, there's a community, we are here to support you. And also said, another thing said is we're trying to promote Cebuano literature, that Cebuano literature is not just about writing in Bisaya. Cebuano literature is basically writing about what you see every day, and what you see every day is actually a reflection of our culture as Filipinos, as Cebuanos. And usually writers, as you can see sa social media, they usually reflect culture of international countries like USA. Filipinos are writing are in an American style while they can also appreciate in Cebuanos, writing balak, writing kanang mga sugilanon, Alden Arsin. Yeah, so muna siya. So through these kanang mga events na mo, we can educate, enlighten the youth na basin ma-answer na mo ilang mga misconceptions, and then motivate them na, ay, pwede sa di sila mo try, kaya pwede sa sila mo delve into ana.
Yes, kitabian kay ko. Pero kanisad, ang HULMA, it was very aptly written down by Adam David Sauna. Nga ihang quest was to kill the literary padrino system. Padrino system is basically mura siya gatekeeping. And in spaces like, Siliman Writers Workshop, mga things like that, mura lisod kayo sudlon. Kasi kailangan ka mo follow sa ilang specific rules, specific kuan, nga not necessarily gikan diri. They're imported from the United States. Ang siliman is from from the Iowa Creative Writers Workshop, which tako kay na siya history dito. Dito na sa gasugod ang The Tiempos, 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏 ug si Edith Tempo. They came back to the Philippines and nagsugod sila og writing workshop here, and that was only when creative writing was formalized diri sa Philippines. Sa una we just wrote whatever, mga poems, short stories, ana, but now we have to follow rules. Natay rules para manindot siya kus sa katong kuan, show don't tell, 2 + 2 = 4, ana ba? Things like that are not kanang gikan nato. And ato ang kuan diri is mga things like that is intimidating, mga things na kanang makahadlok og tao ba, kanang di sa ganahan mo suwat. Kay it's something like that. Ang kanang kato kang Adam David po diha sa siyang he's a proponent of kanang mga small press, mga things nga independent, mga creative writers spaces nga kanang dili sila connected sa wider kuan of formalized creative writing dito sa United States, pero also pud sa kuan here in the Philippines nga small press is an outlet, especially kita diri sa Hulma. Outlet ni siya for small writers para magpahiwatig sila hang mga ipangsuwat. Mo to amo ang chapbook, itong alapaap for sale gyapon dito sa Lost Books, o among folio. Because where else man ka makakuan nga makasubmit ka og something para i-workshop into something better nga ma-publish pa jud into something imong magunit sa imong kamot, di ba? Lisod kina siya ron. And wala namang ganahan buhaton nga among ipalesen ang gatekeeping because that's bad. Pero mawala na ako ang rant. Hopefully nasa may makuha na to. Yeah. So, what advice can you give to someone who wants to start writing? I think ang maka-answer ani kasi Trixie Canama. Palihog ko, Trixie.
Me and Elisha will be answering this question. What advice can you give to writers who want to start writing? So my advice to those who want to start writing, you should know that writing needs time. So you have to be prepared in dedicating yourselves to write. You should also come up with a concept that you actually want to write or you like. Don't ever create or choose a genre that is actually that's trending right now in the world, like romance. If you want to write romance, then you can write. But if you don't want to write romance and you're still writing it just to appease the audience, then I really don't suggest that, because you're not gonna feel the love that is made or crafted into your work. So you have to really choose something that you're very passionate about, like maybe mystery, horror, thriller, or fantasy. Yeah. And also, I suggest that you actually have tools first, like a laptop, and you can download Grammarly for your grammar. It's very helpful. And this one website that has synonyms. If you're a traditional writer, you can use notebooks and what do you call that? Sticky notes to help you guide in your work. You also make sure to also keep yourself first. So if you're writing, don't overwrite or overwork yourself to the point that all you do is writing and you don't eat anymore or drink. So you have to have a timely schedule or balance when you actually want to start writing a novel or a really long story. Now for Elisha.
For me, you open your mind to your own imaginary. When you're writing a story, the pen is yours. It is yours to take. So do not limit yourself into certain possibilities, so that you are able to explore more on what you intend to write. For me, when I write, I just basically use whatever it is I have in my mind and continuously develop it into something more. You, of course, to be a writer, you should also read, because there are other works out there that could inspire you to become a better writer than you are yesterday. And I believe that if you want to improve on your writing, you need to allow yourself to improve. Do not limit yourself into your own ego as well. Because as a writer, you need to let go of that mindset that you are the only writer in this world. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you.
Here's a question for Elijah, I think. My question is, what can you suggest if a writer has so much ideas, or how can a writer organize her ideas if it's all over the place and there's a lot of ideas coming in?
Baby steps, or I guess start with something small before you dive into something big. Like, let's say you have too much in your mind to start with what you're trying to do. It's best to take one and use it, like, think of it as a dot, and you continuously build circles around it so that each level of circle is another level of idea, and you basically eliminate it as you go, or you stay with it as you go. That's basically what I do, but it depends on the writer, good. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Any other questions for prose or fiction?
Wow, so much wisdom in one place.
I agree.
My bad.
Oh, we can't be seen. We're gonna. No, because the other camera. What? Oh, I don't think we should do that still. Okay. 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 Thank you for everyone who came
Even
in person and even online. Thank you to Ferdy A and B.
Woo!
Jeannie Manalo.
Thank you.
Glad Gonato.
Magandang hapon.
La Vida Zioj. Rosie Marie Gabriel. Marie Bioy. Ranay Lenny Molina.
Thank you so much for supporting
Maila
us
Chico.
here at Palm.
Beverly Sulit. Virgil Gapak. Riz Batersal.
Thank you so much.
Roel.
Rachel Apad. Yay! June Balanga. Yay! Anjo, thank you.
Oh, okay, that's it. Oh, okay. Now we got that out of the way. Thank you to everyone who attended. This is the end
of the episode.
Yeah.
Something.
We hope you were able to at least get something out of this. And before I go, I'm gonna do like just one more self-promo. We at HULMA are actually going to be producing our literary folio that comes out every year.
Every year?
Do you have a picture of a...
The cover?
Does anyone have a picture of a cover? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well,
Imagine it.
yeah.
Because we showed it earlier.
Yeah, anyway. So we don't have a picture of it right now, but we're definitely gonna let everyone know when it does come out. Our literary folio, this one is called Places of Memory.
Oh, the French, please.
Oh, Lieu de Mémoire.
Whoa!
But
It's in
the French name
French.
isn't like the main name. But anyway, oh, I have a picture here.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
bit
we should have had a
disorganized
slide.
here.
Whatever.
Designed by...
Oh,
Bye.
Is that good? There we go. This is what it looks like, okay? This is the literary folio
Himself.
that we're going to be releasing
Himself.
soon, called Places of Memory. Lieu
Lieu
de
de
Mémoire.
Wow!
And it's being published by Lost Books. So
Lost Books.
during Intrams Week, which is next week, but that's still a tentative date. So we'll just update on our social media at 𝗛𝗏 on Facebook and
At
Whole
Whole
Mystery on Instagram
Substack.
when we will be releasing the folio. And it's a collection of poetry and prose selected from our writing club, which is seen as like the best works. So,
Whoa!
and
Who's
some
in
of the
it?
speakers who presented today, Trix and Charlize, are in our folio, and our president, Renzo Flordelis, has something special in that folio too.
Whoa!
So yeah, you'll have to buy it, I guess,
Please.
if you want to read it. And, oh, we're also in it. Wow.
Also her.
Stand up, say hi.
Stand up.
Say hi, say hi.
What is your name?
So the reason you got me Batman.
Oh, we actually have more people in the folio, in the audience right now. People who are part of the folio. Let's have them say hi. What's your name?
Hello, I am Joachim Lape. I have a very short story in the folio. Yay!
Hello. Oh my gosh. I'm Isa. I'm also part of the folio. Very like gay story, okay?
So yeah, it's there's short stories, poetry. It's really good, guys. So when it comes out, we're gonna let you guys know, and you can buy it. It's really good.
You
You'll
will
be
buy it.
supporting Cebuano literature.
Youth.
Yeah, youth.
Youth.
If you remember what Renzo talked about, yeah, that's what you'll be supporting.
Yeah.
And we'd like to thank again Palmgrass Cebu Heritage Hotel for letting us use our space. Like we've been using it for the last episodes. What is this, like 4 or 5?
I don't remember. Don't ask.
Did we start September? We started September. September,
Yeah,
October,
October,
November,
November,
December, February. 5.
Five.
This is our 5th one.
Probably.
That's a good number, right? It's like a momentous number.
Yeah.
5th.
Sure.
Woo! 4?
40.
Oh, sorry.
We miscounted. 4.
This is
That's a
actually
bad number.
Oh, no, we're not regarding that. Anyway, yeah, so thank you everyone for
Thank
listening.
you so much.
Follow our socials.
Keep up with 𝗛𝗏.
Yeah, 𝗛𝗏. Woo! Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
credit.
Ending fairy.
Yeah.